details other than the fact that the flying geese unit looks like this. And you can use it for star quilts. You can use it as a border. It looks very pretty as borders. The Dutchman's puzzle uses flying geese. So there's different ways that you can use a flying geese. The flying geese unit looks like this. Okay, this top one here. If you take it apart, you can see that it's made up of two elements, or two block types. That's a half square triangle and a quarter square triangle. So the basis of the half square triangle is if you add on 7/8 of an inch to the finished side, you can make your templates without using a ruler. For the quarter square triangle, you add 1 1/4 inches to the outside as well. And make them any size. You don't have to use a ruler or templates. But I'm going to tell you a little about the whole process because I'm a perfectionist, real perfectionist. And when I started quilting, we were piecing by hand because that was the most accurate method. And then all of a sudden these rulers come along. Okay, rotary cutter, the rulers, the mats. That was an amazing thing to us when that. It was kind of like when the first time you saw color TV. You remember that? Wow, Wizard of Oz. It was cool. So,
all right, sounds great.
I still, even though I use rotary cutters, I still want it to be perfect. So, I think the biggest problem with the flying geese is you're dealing with bias edges. But before you start piecing, you need to really go back and make sure that you're using a scant 1/4 inch, because sometimes I think we forget where we're eyeballing the fabric as it's going through. So just maybe every now and then, so often, just check and make sure you've still got that 1/4 inch going. The other thing is pressing does matter. I've seen demos where people have taken, they've done strips, and the strips are wrinkled. And they're teaching about rotary cutting. If your piece is wrinkled, it's going to mess things up. It just is. It's not correct. So make sure pressing matters. Press, press, press. We learned that in 4-H. We always want to press. Sometimes I add some starch and the fabric's kind of, soft. But always press. Make sure your fabric's pressed before you start cutting. So, I wanted to touch on two, just kind of revise, or go over here, that this is a half square triangle, okay? It's been cut, the square's been cut just right down the middle. These two are straight grain, cross grain, but right across here is the bias. And whenever you try to put two bias pieces together, they kind of want to fight each other and kind of move. So to me, that's kind of one of the hardest things when you're doing flying geese. So these are these two pieces here. Make sure the top is aligned. You see how it hangs out down there? So then you just cut around it, and then you come back here and you line it up. Right, then everything's square. You only make everything up. Yours has a dip there. It's right there. No matter how you start, how you cut it,
Quilt Show. We hope you appreciated all the beautiful work. You can't hear me? Let me see. Let me turn it this way. Okay. Maybe it just needs to be closer. Thank you for coming. This is our last mini lesson, and it's English paper piecing. And tell them what you did with the one you won. Carol's a winner.
Well, wow, that's loud. I don't know if we can do this with my pants not falling down. Wait a second. Let's try it. All right, I'm just going to hold it. How's that? I can. You need the music? You need I didn't know I was supposed to sing and dance up here, but that's okay. That's all right. English paper piecing is a little different than regular paper piecing in that we use a paper pattern for every single little piece that we do. And I think most of you are probably familiar with a grandmother's flower garden, which I don't know if they call it, if we all know it because all of our grandmothers made one, or if it's just a real popular pattern. And these are, well, this is, I'll hold those up. Traditionally, it has one hexagon in the center, and then you build on your design around the middle. So that's one way, and I think you use 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch hexagon for that one. So there's a little paper. Here's the little piece of paper that you start with, and you can cut a little square that goes behind it, or you can use a template that's a plexiglass template. This is for a larger one. This is a 1 3/4 inch. And this has a 3/8 inch seam allowance that's built into it. So when you cut this out, your fabric will automatically be large enough to go around the paper. And it's all basted on by hand. Some that are basted. Here you can jump in. Like this is one in progress, and you can see the stitching where you baste it around the piece, and then you just start assembling. And when you put them together, you take all your little ones, and I brought a bigger one so I could show you. This is the bigger one that I made with the larger template that I just showed you, and the paper's on the back. And you can buy these papers. Backdoor is probably the closest place to buy them if you don't get them online. But the little address cards that are in all the magazines are the perfect weight paper. So if you are sitting there one day with nothing else to do, you can cut out your own papers. Which I've done routinely because invariably I think, I only need 50 of these or whatever, and they're gone in an hour because it doesn't take much. So then I start cutting my own. But so I've got 2 here that are put together, and after you've basted your fabric on, you put them right sides together like that. And Dixie's the one who taught me to use a number 11 Milner's needle that is very, very fine. But it makes almost no hole whatsoever when you're stitching. And it's so easy just to do a nice little stitch right along that one edge. So it's just a...
Can I see that closer?
Yep, you can pass that around if you want to. It's all right. Now what I did with that larger hexagon was, this is just the top for a baby quilt that I started. And so just so you know, all those little shapes come together. I mean, I think everybody loves doing English paper piecing because you can take the pieces with you anywhere. And you can, as long as someone else is driving, you can do it in the car and in front of TV. You can take it to a meeting. You can, just about anywhere to work on it. And then I applicate my border onto it because I don't necessarily like to cut them. Once they're on there, a lot of people will just take their ruler and cut and trim off that edge, but I kind of like leaving it. So I haven't decided if I'll put another border on this to make it a little bit bigger or not.
So you start with 2 and then you add one more, or you do a bunch of 2s and put them together?
Well, you can do it. I mean, to do this one, I did them in rows. So I had a row of about 12 or 13 that I just sewed, that one little piece, one right after another. And then when you go to put them together, they just fit right into each other.
I will put a path in between mine. I will put a white path in.
So Dixie's, she'll put another white path around here. But when you put these together, even without that, you would put them right sides together and then just start stitching your pieces together.
And you said you use 11?
Number 11 Milner's needle.
And back door has,
So this is one that I started. I'm still working on it. But see, now I only have a center and one row around that middle. And then I started putting the yellow in the middle like that. And there's some really old funky fabrics in here that I've been carrying around with me for 30 or 40 years and decided they were weird enough to throw in here. And some of them are just really amazing. But, and in this I used a combination of different white on white fabrics. So there's no really right or wrong way to do it. You do it whatever way you want to. And I've seen beautiful ones where they've started in the middle and they just keep going around and around and around.
I got one like that, I didn't think so.
Yeah.
And do you ever take the paper out?
Yes, as soon as you've enclosed one that you've added on all the way around, you can take the paper out.
You just take your basting out, and then you can just slip the paper right out.
And they pop out real easily once you pull out those basting threads.
I've not taken any out of these yet, except this one doesn't. I've taken that one out.
And
No,
you do.
no, you just slip stitch, just
You try not to sew through the paper.
just take one or two threads.
And you do your whip stitch.
Across, all the way across.
And then again, in this one too, there's some of these are the commercial papers and some are ones that Dixie's cut from the papers out of the magazine. Yeah. And then you can actually, hexagons are not the only shape. And especially if you go online to English paper piecing, you're going to find a huge variety of different ones. Now, this is done with a honeycomb. And the honeycomb is actually the same, the seams are the same length as with the hexagon, but it's just shaped differently. So this is my template for that. And the quilt I did that is a Lucy Boston patchwork of the crosses. It's the first one on the end here, was all done with this template. So all the pieces are either this or a little 1-inch square in that quilt. But this is how they get sewing together. And then there's a 1-inch square that went here as you start building out and filling with the little squares on that one. But there are triangles and octagons and diamonds and it's amazing.
There's a store in Paducah, Kentucky, that's all they sell, are paper pieces.
And there's some challenges out there online right now with absolutely gorgeous designs, and they almost look like little Dresden plates that are all swirling around and moving in and out of each other, and they're all done with paper piecing. So it's really kind of idiot's delight, but it's an awful lot of fun.
I found it addictive.
Yeah, very addictive.
How long does it take to do a quilt?
Oh boy. Well, I've only done one, and the one that I did that's hanging here, it took me 3 years.
Okay, got it.
And I seriously worked on it every day. I did something on it every day.
Enjoyed it.
I loved it. Yeah. I was so sad when I got finished. It was like, now what am I going to do, But so now I can finish some of the other things that I had been working on. So that's okay. So any questions?
When do you take the papers out?
When? You start out with just, like with this one, you've got the one in the middle. And as soon as you've sewn on the next row, this middle one will not lose its shape, and you can pull the paper out. So, and then with the next row, as soon as you've sewn all the way around again, just that one piece has to be totally sewn in all the way around, and you can pull the paper out. If you take the paper out ahead of that, you lose your shape, and you'll go crazy trying to pin it back or, something. So, I think in this little one, I pulled out all the papers except the very outer rim. So I'd have to sew, something up here before I could pull this one out. Or, it'd fall apart.
And I haven't taken any of them out with this one right here. Because if I make a mistake and decide to do something different, I want that shape left. So I haven't taken mine out.
But we usually think about doing it in circles, but there's no reason why you can't do it in rows. And, to do a little table runner or something like that to get your feet wet would be fun, or just even a kind of a round doily shape, or, for a table would be a really fun way to start, and see what you think.
I have like 2 questions. Do you iron as you face the paper or anything like that?
Nope, I don't do any ironing until it's all done and ready to.
Once you go like this and you get your basting in it, it doesn't really need it, because by the time you get it all sewn, it is that shape. It doesn't really look. So when you're basting, do you go to your table? Yes.
Here, you can look at these. And actually, as long as you don't iron it, when you fold over, there's the paper. It doesn't go all the way into the fold. It's like you don't want to make it so tight that you don't have that little bit of space up there for your needle. And it's really easy. You get used to how that feels, and you can just whip it right along. Now, there is a kind of a glue stick that you can also buy. And when I was doing these bigger ones, I had a hard time holding my seam allowance down so that I could stitch it. And I glued the 2 opposite sides. So this one and this one were glued down with the glue stick, which was just enough to hold the paper in there so I could stitch it. And there were a couple places on that quilt that I went ahead and glued the edges, but it was only because I needed them to be absolutely perfectly straight in the design of the fabric I was using. But otherwise, I didn't like to glue. And the glue is nothing. I can stick my finger under here and just pop it right out. It doesn't really, it's not like Elmer's. No, it's not a permanent glue. It's strictly for fabric.
Well, I thought when you iron it, it comes off.
Pardon me?
I thought when you ironed it, it comes off permanent.
No, I wouldn't iron it with the glue in there.
Yeah, that's the glue that I bought. You iron it and then you can open it up.
I haven't tried that. Pardon?
It melts.
That she has glue that she irons and then it comes off. That it releases.
It's a special glue I bought, though.
Yeah. Any guess? Well, paper piecing, we had a lesson on that yesterday, and you start with a paper pattern, and then you lay your fabric on it and sew right through the paper and fold it over, and then you add in the next piece. On your pattern, all the little pieces are numbered, and you lay your fabric on, sew it, and flip it, sew it, and flip it, according to the pattern that's on the paper. And this is all done with the paper as a paper. I don't know. It gives you the pattern. I mean, the paper itself gives you the pattern, and it's one little piece at a time. Is by machine. So this is all done by hand. So. All done? Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Okay. My name is Annie Lesser. I've been a member of Nimble Thimbles for approximately 10 years. Before then, I did a lot of sewing, construction of garments, and that sort of thing. And now I enjoy quilting and don't do any of the other sewing. This particular quilt that I have here was the block of the month. It came out as a size or a throw, but I decided to make it twin size. So I added a few blocks across the end and a border to make it longer. And that's going to be a gift for my son this Christmas.
Oh, very nice.
What else would you like to know?
How long have you been a member of the club? Things like that?
10 years.
10 years?
10 years.
Okay.
We have several people in our club that have joined recently.
Mm-hmm.
A few years ago we had 45 or 50, and now we have almost 90 or a little over, and a lot of new people that would like to learn the art of quilting. And so I think we have had some lessons in the past, and we're going to start over with that. And it's just a good group of ladies who enjoy each other and enjoy the quilting, and we just have such a good time together.
When did you start quilting?
Well, I did a little quilting in years past when a baby arrived or something like that, but not really seriously until I joined this club.
My name is Diane Eder, and I've been in the quilt club since about 2002. I really enjoy doing puzzles, and to me, doing quilts are like doing puzzles. You put things together and they make sense, and I really enjoy it. I enjoy the company. You learn from others. If you were doing it by yourself, it'd be really hard, but doing it with other people, you can learn a lot, and everybody is so congenial. Really enjoy quilting.
And you want to talk about that pattern?
This is a pattern. I bought the fabric at the same time I bought the pattern, and I really enjoyed it. I thought the quilting on it made it look even more outstanding, and I like bright colors, and it had the bright colors. Quilting is not hard. It's just puzzle. Everything works together.
Now, other than Sunday school many years ago,
Pardon?
you used to teach Sunday school with your sister, right?
I taught
Marcia?
Sunday school, but I didn't with my sister.
Oh,
But she
okay.
goes to church in the same place I go.
I know.
And
So
then
did I, because I had you.
Pardon?
I had you.
Oh,
John Spurr.
oh, I didn't
And Spurr.
recognize you.
Yeah.
I didn't recognize
I knew you, but I was trying to wait until I heard your name, and then I knew who you were.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, about the pattern.
Okay. Quilting is not hard. It's a block, and you put all these blocks together, and it comes out the way it should. So it's not really a difficult thing to do any quilting, really. It's just understanding what you need to do. And if you've got a pattern or somebody to talk to, that makes a big difference.
Cool.
But I enjoyed doing this one. I like the bright colors.
Now, how do you decide on? Do you decide on your pattern first, right?
Yes.
And then your colors?
I had a book, and this same colors was in that book, and I really liked it. So I got the book and I got the pattern at the same time.
Very nice. Well, thank you very much.
I'm glad to meet you. I didn't realize.
My name's Teresa Ellis. I am a brand new quilter. I'm inspired by a group of Nimble Thimble ladies that belong to a quilt club in Johnson County. And this is only my second quilt. It's called the Serenity Quilt, and it was inspired by Nancy Zeman. I was able to watch her on TV after I retired on a Create show, and she inspired me to do more. So I bought her book, and this was a quilt that was in there. And I love it.
Now, it sounds like you were in art before.
Art? No.
No? I was going by the show, but you said you retired from.
I retired from Lily.
Lily, okay. Did you do any art stuff then?
No.
Okay.
Office.
Okay. And how did you decide on the pattern?
The pattern was in her book, Quilt with Confidence.
Okay.
She has since passed away, but she was my inspiration, besides my mother, who quilted, but she passed before I could learn from her.
And do you? I know it has a name. You call it Serenity Quilt. Is that because of the colors and soft flowers and things like
These are my
that?
favorite colors.
Cool. I like
Pink
it.
and purple, I can't decide which is my favorite.
Okay. Anything else you'd like to say? Okay.
I'm Agnes Hawley. I have sewn all my life. I started clear back in high school with 4-H. I made my own wedding gown. I make my drapes for my home. I started quilting about 14 years ago, and I took my first lessons at the back door. That's an all hand-pieced quilt, a sampler quilt. And this is one of my favorite quilts I did this year. It's my favorite. It was our mystery quilt. So each month we got a different different pattern that was given to us, and it went together. I have a queen size bed. I decided the mystery quilt is just this part right here, the center part of it, and I wanted it to fit my queen size bed, so I added my borders onto it and made it so it would fit my queen size quilt. I did do a brand new thing that I'd never done in quilting before. I did mitered corners on it, and this is probably the best corner to see it. That's so the pattern all flowed together, and so that was a new venture for me in this quilt.
It's very nice. I like the pinks and the blacks and all the flowers. Now you just call it a mystery quilt, but how did you end up with the colors and the things like that?
We were told to get a dark color, a medium color, and a light color. The dark obviously was my black,
Yep.
The medium was my pink, and the white and green was my light color.
Okay.
But these all behind you are mystery quilts, and that's what the mystery quilt itself actually just was just this center part here.
Are these part of that too?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
All of these are. And all of them along the bottom here are.
Oh, okay. Cool. Anything parting shots you'd like to say?
No, I just love Nimble Thimbles. I love the philanthropic things that we do with Nimble Thimbles. It's my love.
And how long have you been with them?
Right at 3 years.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, and when I retired.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. I know where Becky is. I can get Becky.
Okay. Have you found anything I'm videoing you, but have you found any you really liked?
All of them.
All of them.
It's really hard to pick one out because we're supposed to vote. Hi, I'm Becky Horton, a member of the Nimble Thimbles Quilt Club. We were given a challenge to make a bee-related quilt, and I actually stole the idea off of a t-shirt ad that I saw on the internet. But the homage to the Beatles song "Let It Be" spoke to me, and so I, using a light box and some craft paint from my grandchildren's stash, I created my own bee, and very happily received first place award.
Ooh, very cool. I'm gonna get close to your bee. And how'd you decide? You said how did you decide on your colors?
I got the paints out and just set out the ones that reminded me of a summer day and beautiful flowers, and just started dabbling with them, and that's what I created.
Kind of reminds me of sunflowers.
It did me too.
Oh, cool. Well, thank you.
Thank you. I have not seen my copy machine, and I enlarged it 200%. 200%. Until I got it about the size I wanted. Then I took a light box and laid some fabric on it, and
sketched. You did it? Oh my, well, I copied it. I mean, I sketched it. And then I got the craft paint out of the kids had to scratch a craft paint. And I was sitting one Sunday and I just started painting. And then I'm like, well, look at me. Well, this is fun.
You didn't come to that talk last night, did you?
You did your job. I think that's why the fabric designer judge. That's probably why she made that, because she does everything off my computer. She shows out.
She's had paints all day long. She's
no, I steal it right from the internet.
I do too.
But that's not the best construction quilt out there, but I bet you that's what she saw.
Yeah, love that.
But I hope she doesn't ask to buy my 100 soda.
My name's Sharon McMahon. I've been part of this quilt club for 6 years. And I started sewing when I was 10 years old. And my mother taught us to sew, but back then we made quilts. And so when I worked, my sister's been part of the club for 30 years. And so I would see her beautiful quilts, and I would always say, I want one. And she'd say, you need to make it yourself. Well, when I worked, I didn't have time. So I would say, well, I want one. So when I retired 5 years ago, I started making quilts. And this quilt here that I made is for my granddaughter. My grandkids, I have 4 grandkids, and they absolutely love quilts. So every year I make them at least 2. And they use them, and they wrap up in them, and they sleep with them, and they take them to picnics and ball games, and anything that they need something to sit on or to wrap up in.
Oh, wow.
So I make probably at least about 12 quilts a year. I sew a lot, and I sew about every day, so I finish at least 12 quilts plus a year. But it's very, very fun pastime and not really that costly.
Now, do you do other types of art?
Other types of art? Absolutely not. I can't even draw a stick person. So I'm not artistic, believe it or not. I do have an eye for color, which helps.
Yeah, well, I think you're artistic in, in your way. I mean, some people do watercolor, some people do abstract, somebody paint cars.
Yeah.
Or
I have an eye for color, and that helps when I go to make a quilt. But other than that, no, I have no drawing abilities or art abilities. I just enjoy sewing.
are you anti-computer?
I'm sorry?
Do you use a computer to plan your things, or it's all
No, I do it all in my head and on piece of paper.
like the lady yesterday?
Yes.
Oh, that's cool.
100%.
Well, thank you.
I'm Ben Wilson. I make quilts in wood. Got started several years ago. I was admiring my wife's quilts and thought I can do that with wood because I've been a woodworker since I was a kid. And she told me later, she thought, yeah, sure you can, but I did. I made a box top with the card trick pattern, which is this one. Made her a box for a gift, and I got hooked. And so I started swiping more of her quilt patterns, and now I don't do much else than make quilts in wood. I don't use any paint or stain or dye. It's all the natural colors of the wood. I've used more than 100 different kinds of wood imported from all over the world. And I do boxes and clocks and trivets and cutting boards and wall plaques and various and sundry other household items, always looking for a new one that I can put a quilt pattern in. I found that quilt shows like this one are my best venue for sales.
And how about we can walk through some of your work you done?
Oh, well, my most recent item is this, which is a wall mirror with a quilt pattern. Hang that by the door so you can check your hair as you leave the house. I've done clocks for 2 or 3 years, and I really like the clocks, especially this bark side. Some people call this a live edge, but that board is as dead as any other board. It just has the bark still on it, especially like those when I can get the wood. These are cutting boards. The back side is your work side. And when you're done, you just turn over and prop it against the backsplash to decorate your kitchen. Like I said, I started with boxes, and I still love doing boxes.
See, some of them even have the knot holes and things.
Oh, I leave
That's
some
cool.
people call those flaws. I call them God's beauty marks. So, My most popular and least expensive item is these trivets. They're made with a ceramic tile on the back side. You can put the hottest skillet right off the fire on the ceramic. It'll stand anything. Then when you're done, just turn it over and leave it on your counter or your table to decorate your kitchen or dining room. And that's the most popular one. I took 16 of those to the Indiana Heritage Quilt Show in Bloomington in March and sold all but one of them.
Oh, wow.
So that's my most popular item. Some of these are just decorative, they're just wall flags.
And I saw the boxes in the corner. I thought that was,
Those are for cremains. I'm a retired preacher, and the cross is important to me. And so I was making these small boxes with the crosses in them, and people would ask me, are those big enough? If someone's been cremated, are they big enough for the ashes? I said, I really don't know. So I checked with the local funeral director that I've known for years and found out the size. And so I started making these upright ones that would be like an urn to sell on a mantle or somewhere. And I've sold several of those. They're just memorial boxes.
I thought those were nice. And this is your lovely wife, I think. What are you making?
Blame her. It was her quilts that got me started.
Ah, okay. So you're a quilt maker too.
Yeah, she's a quilt maker, and
I use fabric, which I tell him is more forgiving, but he says wood is more fun, so it's a matter of opinion.
What's your first name?
Sandra.
You're Sandra. Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
And I see you got clocks.
Yes. That clock won the open class first place in this year's Montgomery County 4-H fair.
Now, what city is capital of, like
Crawfordsville.
Crawfordsville, okay.
We live out in the country about 12 miles southwest of Crawfordsville.
I should know that, but I don't.
Are you familiar with Shade State Park or Turkey Run?
Turkey Run I've been to. I haven't been to Shades.
I live about 3 miles from Shades and 12 miles from Turkey Run.
Cool.
And about 12 miles from Crawfordsville.
Oh, cool.
So, I'm trying now to develop a website. I started a few months ago. I'm not selling anything on the website. I don't know how to take something to a show and sell it at a show and have it online too, because I don't have two of anything.
Oh, okay.
I can try to duplicate something, but it won't be exactly alike even if I do, because the wood will be different.
What you want to do is on your main page it says these are all one of a kind. So, I can make things similar, but nothing is ever exact.
So far, I've just tried to develop some ideas of how I do what I do, and so I keep an updated list of the shows I have scheduled for the coming year. Well, I don't have anything for 2020 yet, so I'm not into that schedule yet.
Okay.
But I will by the end of the year have several on. And I try to do about one show a month, usually starting in March. That's when the shows start. There's the big Indiana Heritage Show in Bloomington that I've been to 3 different times, and I do well at that.
Now, how many shows do you do a year?
Well, 1 a month or sometimes 2 from March through November.
Okay. Is that your working time in the shop?
I'm in the shop nearly every day, all year round.
Well, that cuts into your show time. Well, thank you.
Well, thank you.
Give me your website.
QuiltsInwood.com. It's QuiltSinwood. QuiltsInwood.com.
Okay. I never even noticed it, so there you go.
How will you know when you're done?
How we know when we're done? When all these pins are out.
Okay.
When all the pins are out, then we're done.
Now we know where the pins are.
Yeah, see like I did this, but the rest of it needs to be done, so I left a pin in it.
Oh, okay. And she's doing little stitches.
How did you do along the bottom, Diane? Like along here, the same way, just around like that part?
Yeah, but that's too far.
Well, but I'm saying on yours, the other one.
Yeah, go there, and there.
All right.
But not
You
there.
have to worry about that.
Yes, yes.
What Nora likes to do
Is it?
I like the new foundation paper.
I know, mine hurts.
She gave a little mini lesson.
You do what you have to do, don't you? I do what I have to do. It hurts no matter what I do anyway, so I know.
Well, you look real.
It's a lot of fun. I can't take it. I tried to set Raising said I can't take it.
What I was saying about Carolyn is that I had a picture from over and over again and just doesn't stop. And it's like weird. Sanderson, and they don't slide. When you put them on the fabric where you want them, they don't slide. Plus the numbers go both directions on all 4 sides.
Oh, that's.
They don't slide.
What stops them from sliding?
It's part of the manufacturing process. It's almost like a rubbery back. But I can make that first cut, and everybody wants to make an odd second cut this way. You don't have to. It stays on the fabric.
Okay.
So you can just gently turn it and trim on all 4 sides. It's great for fussy cutting. It's great for squaring up blocks. You don't have to.
Will it work on paper too? Or mainly fabric?
Mainly fabric.
Okay. And what is your name? And you have
This is Granny Sue Quilts.
Okay. Do you have a website or anything?
I do. It's grannysuequilts.net.
Okay.
And I'll have a shop in Cortland, Indiana, and I have a quilting business in Lake Placid, Florida right now.
Oh, wow.
Squares for the separation, I did a dark 3-inch strip, and oh my, that turned out really pretty. It may come in a flannel, but it's that 6 mid-gauge fabric, and I ordered the whole bulk of it, but it is all cotton. And that one turned out really sweet.
Hi, Cindy.
Hi, you're taking pictures again?
Actually, it's a video.
Oh, well, I'm going to show people how to do this curved seam. Everybody's afraid of curves, but this curved seam is really simple, done by hand.
Oh.
I pin it in place, stitch to the middle. I take these 2 pins out and move them over here, and this goes together really quick. So that's what I'm doing, is the drunkard's path block by hand. And I actually think it's faster by hand than it is on machine.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Can you teach me how to sew a straight line?
A straight line? Well, I'm going to sew a straight line on here shortly. But the piece is going to turn out as a curve when I'm done.
This is quilt and pretty quilt back,
Mhm.
which obviously is larger. So
Yes.
have you added on?
I actually make one more row because when you cut out those 9x12s, you end up with an extra, enough to make another row at the bottom. So mine ends up a little bigger than that row size. And then you can add your own borders to make it longer or wider, whatever you need. But that would make the center. And I think I make mine 20 squares.
Let me go ahead and get it.
Oh, you'll love it. It is a cool pattern.
What's your name and
My name is Gloria Stolhut. I'm the owner of Quilted Glow. I'm an online business, and I do quilt shows and I speak at quilt guilds. I made this quilt. I designed the pattern for it. It is a digital printed panel, which gives you the vibrancy, as well as then just doing the borders. It's very easy, quick and easy to do, and it sells as a kit.
now? Can anybody locally print on fabric like that? Can you print on fabric? I mean,
when I say digitally printed, it's the manufacturer's digitally printed instead of the traditional printing, and that's what gives the vibrancy and the colors. You can actually, by digital printing, they can include up to over 1,000 colors in a fabric, where your traditional printed fabric can only go to about 17 or 18.
Right. Okay. How did you start?
I I started the business as looking for backings because I'm a long armor.
Okay.
And I had a hard time finding backing. So I focused first on backings, then I moved into panels, and I retired 2 years ago from my professional job, and then I started designing my own quilts.
Well, I like this a lot. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.